On May 25th, 2022, Reverend Tim Bovey officiated at the memorial service of Marge Evans. Behind Tim is one of the many quilts created by Marge in her 25 years as a quilter.
Mind, known to us in many ways, we honor all that made her the person she was. May what we do here.
Reverend Brita Gill Austern, drawing on a friendship of 40 years, gave the eulogy. Other friends, including son Matt and nephew Michael, contributed their memories. I'm Todd Evans, Marge's husband, and I want to take you on a visual tour of a variety of the some 50 quilts created by Marge in her lifetime. Many of these Marge donated to friends and family, who in turn brought them to the memorial service to be displayed in the sanctuary.
And Marge and I went all the way to Idaho to a monastery so that we could make some quilts in that setting. And we went 5 times and did a different project every time and had a great time.
Marge had brought this to our quilt group with a piece taken out of it from Matt's dog. And Matt loved this quilt, and he really was hoping she could repair it. So she brought it in to get some advice on how to do it. And I happened to have some of this backing in my stash so that she could at least have something for the back. And she had some material from, the original print. And I gave her the last time I saw her, I had given her the backing fabric, and then everything happened, and I just wanted Todd to let him know that I would be more than happy to finish the job, and that's what I did.
Hello. Hello. Hi, Todd.
Lindsay and Natalie.
Yep.
This is our favorite quilts.
Yeah, we chose this one. We really liked all the stitching on it. And
How all these wheels come together. Not necessarily concentrically, but just in a beautiful composition.
It is. And
Yeah.
you can notice from a distance, it's really draws you in. And then when you come up close, there's so much detail to appreciate.
You can see all the stitches you made. It's lovely.
Yep, and the colors and just the blocking and the abstractness and
It's
everything.
so modern and fresh.
Yeah,
I also like the other ones too.
it's hard to pick one.
This quilt speaks to me because of its simplicity. Its dynamics, it's moving, the wheels, the mechanisms, the mechanics of it, and yeah, that's why.
She was very funny. She made us laugh a lot, and she was a good quilt maker. I mean, I can tell.
The quilt was made for us. Scott, David, and myself. I would say that's probably 10 years ago, and it's for a king-size bed. And so it was very big. This is my son David, and our colors were green in our house. And we lived on Mercer Island and surrounded by forest, so it reminded her of the forest. And we hung it in a two-story stairwell. And so every time people would come up, they'd say, "Where did that quilt come from?" And my Aunt Margie always said that this quilt had incredible stitching on it, that the work, this was one of her favorite quilts in terms of the complication of the stitching, which I don't understand quilting very much, but this is an exquisite piece. She said it's one of her most beautiful pieces in terms of the stitching here. So I cannot believe it's here, and I'm glad I think about it, I miss it, but I'm glad it's being shared with a lot of people.
I'm Michael Evans and Brooks. Yep. And my father Andy there is the brother of Todd. And Marge made this beautiful quilt for my eldest son, Naveen, who's now 13 years old. So this is when he was born, and she gave this as a gift.
Yeah, these are the penguins that Marge made for me. I've known Marge since I was 4. Me and Scott were 1 month apart, and been close to their family ever since. And when I had my first kid, she in 2019 made this for our son Jonah.
Oh boy.
And
My name's Jean Hopeman, and I know Todd and Marge from the Sonoma Garden Park and volunteering there and Seeds of Learning activities at the Garden Park. And I love this quilt because it's very vibrant, it's very action-packed, it's very colorful. To me, it speaks loudly of energy, vibrancy, life, and a little bit of chaos, which is life.
Kit's daughter. And this one I think is my favorite. I don't know, I haven't seen them all yet. But the red and the blue with a little bit of orange and the circles that look like a bicycle tire. I like that.
My name's Chris. Hi, Todd. We were your neighbors for almost 20 years. And the thing that always struck me about these quilts, both in watching them being constructed and then seeing the finished product, was the level of attention to detail that went into each and every one. And sometimes I would see like a work in progress and I was like, well, I'm not entirely sure I see where you're going with this, but by the time it came together, it was always perfect. Because it's like she thought it all the way through to the end, even as she, at times, to me anyway, seemed to be making it up as she went along. And just, I think, she's clearly getting the love and the credit from all the people that knew and saw these, just how flippin' good she was at this stuff. And these are going to be remaining in the families where they live for generations as treasured keepsakes, and we thank her for that.
Todd, these quilts are amazing. I had no idea what talent she had. I mean, I saw the one in there, but like her range that she can do of so many different kinds of quilts, and the ones for kids, and then I just think the colors in this one are so incredibly beautiful. And the centerpiece, and I don't know, I've never seen a quilt like this before. It's just stunning. So, nice job, Marge.
I'm standing in Marge's studio by her design board. This is the design board, and this is where she created her designs. And I thought I'd describe, for those of you particularly that don't have much experience with quilts, a little bit her process. So you'll see this design is a matter of blocks. And there's 7 blocks down and 6 across. I mean, 42 blocks she has got to sew together. She does them individually. And when she finishes a block, she takes it and puts it on her design board like that. And then the second block comes along and she'll put it here, somewhere else, and it won't necessarily end up there in the final result, but she gets to see how the different things balance. And you may notice that these blocks have some repetition to them. For example, here, white polka dots on black shows up here. Every one of these patterns, here's two pretty close, do repeat themselves 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 or 5 in some way. And so that's part of the fun of putting this whole thing together. Now, once she has all these blocks done, she has to do the border. And she spent a lot of time figuring out what kind of a border. This is made of 3 different strips, blue and a white and another, red and a white and another red. And she would often call me in. She'd say, I need your sensorial opinion. And she'd try this form and then she'd try something else. And I'd respond about what I thought looked best. And it was fun to participate with her in the creation of this to some extent. So this is another quilt of hers with a border. You can see the backing is all one fabric, and then it folds over and that becomes the final border. So that will have to still be done, and will probably be done by one member of her quilting group. She met every week, every other week I guess it was, and worked with other quilters. So she was getting lots of feedback from them also. So once the quilt is finished like this, with a border, it goes to another quilter who has a long arm sewing machine, and they can do the back. And often there's an interesting design that's done on the back side, which shows up in the quilt itself. And in between. So once this design is completed, then the border will be finished. And the border is, the back side of this is another fabric. Sometimes just one, sometimes 2 colors like this. And this will eventually fold over and create a boundary, such as this quilt, which is one of hers. And you'll see that here's the border, and there is a boundary. And in between the 2 layers, there's a little bit of batting which provides some insulation. So the quilt is supposed to make you warm, right? And then pretty much that's the finish of it, and then it's ready to. Marge gave most of her quilts away to friends or family, or she would give it to a nonprofit for an auction fundraiser. I consider this one of Marge's masterpieces, and we hung it over our dining table. And we've done many shots with this particular quilt. You'll see it's one that she used lots of circular design, as you can see. It reminds me in some way of how these circles overlap and move with one another of a Celtic design, ring designs and circular designs. Well, here you also can see the border. It's so varied, so many different forms. It's just not one piece, and it shows how much she put into it. And if you could see the forms from the design that's in this, there are all kinds of moons and suns and different forms. Which here's a sun right here, all done on the back side and showing up in the front side. So that is a particular collaboration of Marge and the finished quilter that she pays to pull everything together on the long arm sewing machine. Marge haunted quilt stores, gathering potential fabrics for her quilts. Here she is in Rwanda, delighted with what she found. Marge not only designed quilts, but often dressed with equally color attire, as in this video of her 70th birthday.
Oh.
You're on video.
And oh Well, as long as I'm on video, let's do this. We can do both.
You can vote.
There you go.
I like the colorful one with your.
How does that
color.
feel? Too.
Mom, this is the runway. Can you walk? Can you walk the runway?
One foot in front of the other.
Yes.
Ow, ow!
Now do the turn.
that was a little
Nice.
turn. That was perfect.
Nice.
That's very good. I'll fall over.
Marge's legacy lives on in the quilts which decorate the homes of her many friends and family members.